There are 5 classes in the dungeons in Hypixel Skyblock. These are Healer, Tank, Mage, Berserker, and Archer. Healer and Tank are great classes, and they can get you through later floors without having to try too much, but they're not that fun to play, so most people don't play them. While the Mage class is pretty overpowered and by far the best class in the game, it's very expensive, for you need a Hyperion and Storm Armor to really do it effectively, so that's out of the selection as well. Archer is similar to Mage that it's pretty overpowered, but you do need to know how to play it. You need multiple bone meringues, which are very expensive, so that's out of the selection, which leaves only one class, Berserker. Berserker has many different attributes to it, to where you can upgrade your stats and get better at Berserker. These include weapons, like an aspect of the end or a loaded dagger, your armor, like my Shadow Assassin here, and a Zombie Knight chestplate, and pets. Today we'll be looking at which pet is best for Berserker. There are 4 different pets we'll be considering. These pets are the Wither Skeleton, the Legendary Griffin, the Legendary Ender Dragon pet, and the Epic Baby Yeti pet. First up, the Wither Skeleton pet. Its base stats are pretty good, as it gives 25% crit damage, 25 intelligence, 25 defense, 25 strength, and 5% crit chance. So a really good all-around pet just from the stats. Now let's take a look at the abilities. Stronger Bones. Take 30% less damage from skeletons. This is pretty useful in dungeons since there's skeleton masters and different types of skeletons, mostly skeleton masters that can hurt you, and you take much less damage, 30% at level 100 from them, so that's pretty useful. Let's look at ability number 2. Deal 50% more damage to wither mobs. This is extremely useful in the Necron fight because basically all of those enemies are withers, or wither type, because it's wither skeletons and Necron, who is a wither. So you deal 50% more damage, which is quite a bit. Let's look at the third ability here. Upon hitting an enemy, inflict the wither effect for 200% damage over 3 seconds. Now, it just does 200% of your damage, not 200% per 3 seconds, over 3 seconds. It's a somewhat misconception that I've seen a lot. So definitely a really good ability as well for things like frozen adventurers or things you don't one-tap, like mini-bosses. It can deal a lot more damage and help you kill them much quicker. The cheapest level 100 Wither Skeleton pet on the market right now is about 12.75 million coins, which is a really good price for the amount of abilities and things that it has to offer. So I definitely say it's a great pet. Second on the list, the Legendary Griffin pet. At level 100, this gives 50% crit damage, 10 intelligence, 10 magic find, 55 strength, 20 speed, and 10% crit chance. These are amazing stats just for really any player, as a 10 magic find, 20 speed, and 10% crit chance can be really good if you don't have enough crit chance since you're using Flower Truth or something like that. Let's look at the abilities. Odyssey. Mythological creatures you find in burrows you dig, scale in difficulty, and rewards based on your equipped griffin's rarity. This is useless in dungeons, there's no real reason to have this. Legendary Constitution. Permanent regeneration 7 and strength 8. This is really good in dungeons since it still actually works. In dungeons, they didn't disable it, so it's definitely a great pet if you don't want to use the dungeon potions, which cost a little bit of money. It kind of stacks up over time. However, you usually make the money back. And the last ability is Perpetual Empathy. Heal nearby players for 20% of the final damage you receive. Excludes other griffins. So this isn't really useful unless it's for like a healer. Oh, and there's one more ability. King of Kings. Gain 15% strength when above 85% health. You're usually above 85% health, so that's definitely a really good ability. So if you have a lot of strength with something like the Flower of Truth, then you can definitely get a lot of strength. And you can obviously have a held item, but we're not going to look at that. So it's a pretty good pet. It's mostly known for its stats at the top and the King of Kings. Of course, Legendary Constitution's pretty good, but the King of Kings and the stats at the top are the best. Now let's look at the price. 55 million coins right now for a level 100 Legendary Griffin. Quite a lot if you do say so. However, you are getting a lot in this pet, but I do feel like it's a bit overpriced and should be somewhere more around 20 million. The next pet on our list is the level 100 Legendary Ender Dragon. This one actually has a neon red skin, but it's the cheapest level 100 on the auction house. Alright, so the stats at the top are 50% crit damage, 50 strength, and 10% crit chance, which isn't too bad, but we've seen a little bit better and more stats from other pets, but it might make up with it in the abilities. End Strike. Deal 25% more damage to end mobs. Not really useful other than, I guess, Fells in floor 7, or really any floor, so I don't know, it doesn't seem very useful. One with the Dragon. Buffs the aspect of the Dragon Sword by 50 damage and 30 strength. Useless. Do I really have to say anything? The last ability, Superior. Increases most stats by 10%. That is really amazing, because you can increase your damage and stuff by 10%. It does have a tier boost, so you can't hold like an pet item of any sort, so it's a bit cheaper to get a tier boosted one. But yeah, the superior ability gives a lot of stats, so it's definitely a lot of buffs. However, this pet is 130 million coins, which I don't know if 10% of your stats is worth 130 million coins. However, it might be if you have high enough stats and it's worth it enough for you. Last but not least, we have the level 100 Epic Baby Yeti pet. The Epic Baby Yeti pet's actually a bit better since you can earn a level 100 quicker, and the last ability is pretty useless. So the stats on this pet are 75 intelligence and 40 strength, which isn't too bad, but pretty bad. So let's look and see if it makes it up for it in the abilities. Cold Breeze gives 50 strength and crit damage when near snow. Not very useful because there's not snow in dungeons. Ice Shields gain 100% of your strength as defense. The most overpowered ability in the game is that, Ice Shields. It's so amazing. If you're using Flower Tooth and Baby Yeti, you're basically unkillable. And this one has a Dwarf Turtle Shaman, which is, pretty useful. So it's a level 100 Epic. And of course, with all these pets, you don't have to level them, or you don't have to buy them at level 100. You can buy them at the lowest rarity possible. That just means, or the lowest level possible, but that just means that you'll have to level them yourselves, and that'll take a bit of time. So this pet is definitely really good if you're having a bit trouble surviving, and even just in general for like floor 7 even, it's really useful for in the dungeon. However, in the boss room, everything does true damage, I think, so it's not very useful because defense is useless when it comes to true damage. By the way, I forgot to mention, a level 100 of this pet will run you about 43.5 million coins, so that's quite a bit. Alright, it's time for the final rankings. These rankings will be off how good the pet is, its stats, and how much it is. In first place, we have the Epic Baby Yeti pet because it's so good for defense, and it's really good for Berserker since you can survive for much longer. Number 2, we have the Wither Skeleton pet. Does a whole lot of damage, all of the abilities are good, pretty good stats, and it's pretty cheap. Not as good as the Baby Yeti because it doesn't give any health or defense, but still it's a really good pet. In third place, we have the Legendary Griffin pet. This pet is really good for the stats and a few of the abilities, however, it's way too expensive to be in a casual player's pet menu, so it's really not a thought for most players. And in fourth place, that's right, we have the Legendary Ender Dragon. Only 10% buff for 130 million coins. Might be worth it to you, but for me, that's just not worth it. That wraps everything up. As a recap, if you're dirt poor and want to get into dungeons, get the Wither Skeleton. If you're a pretty average player and want to get deep into dungeons, get the Baby Yeti pet. If you are sort of an in-game player, but don't really want to dish out 130 million coins, then get the Legendary Griffin pet. And if you really don't care, then get the Legendary Ender Dragon pet, because it's really just mostly a flex. So yeah. Thank you all for watching. Like, sub, do all that jazz, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.